Hey everybody, welcome to episode 50. That's right. 50, that's the wrong one. This one. 50 episodes of Tactical Crouch. We made it, of course. I'm KickedTripod with Yiska and Volamel. Can't believe we made it. Good times. Good 50 episodes. I think September 27th or 28th is our official 1 year. Which also means that we really haven't missed any weeks at all.
No,
so,
I think we
had a double week. I think.
Yeah,
I think
we
we
had a double week.
one,
we
but
missed
then we
one
doubled
week.
up.
We also have episode 6, which may or may not ever be a thing. We'll see. But yeah. So thanks everybody for being here. Before we do get started, though, we had our patron game night last Saturday, and it ended up turning up into a little watch party instead because we put Yiska in charge of figuring out the schedule. And
True.
He's like, yeah, let's do this. We'll play games for 2 hours, then finish up the last and then watch the first hour of play-ins. And it was the exact opposite of that. But we ended up hanging out. It was a really fun time. Had well over 25 people show up for the watch party, which was really cool. Had really good conversations. And yeah, so big thank you to our patrons and everybody else who showed up. Hope you all had fun. And of course, if you do like the show, now it's the perfect time. September has officially started, so you don't get in this weird area where you get charged twice. So essentially how Patreon works is you are charged when you sign up, and then you're charged on the first of the month. So if you want the most out of your perks and you want to support Tactical Crouch, go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. Sign up now. Also, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific time, it's September for Twitch, which means that you can get subs, tier 1 subs, for half off when you sub to twitch.tv/KickedTripod. So, Loneitis, thank you for the new Twitch sub, with Twitch Prime sub. Appreciate it. And yeah, so starting at 1 p.m. today through the rest of September, you can get half off Twitch subs. So another great way to support. We're getting, hopefully in the next week to 2 weeks, little audio upgrades for Joe and Yiska. Should be fun. Other than that, it's Leonidas.
Leonidas. Yeah. It's okay. It's a quick glance. That's why we don't have Twitch chat on our screens.
That's not actually that bad. That's not that
No,
far
it's not.
It's not that far off. But yeah, 2 great ways to support the show. 50 episodes, 50 weeks of just quality entertainment. There you go.
Happy to cross the milestone with good company.
Best company.
Best company.
Nobody else in the world.
We're the best ending.
They're like, would you rather sit down with Einstein, George Washington, or the boys from Tactical Crouch? 60-20-20 Tactical Crouch.
Exactly. Without a doubt.
I would need to sit down with 3 George Washingtons to make it worthwhile, is basically what I'm saying. Yes. All right. Well, not the strongest start to the show, but
that's okay.
we'll finish strong. We'll finish strong. Let's talk about the news this week, brought to you by our patron producers, Battle Crab, Maid, and Peter Y. Thank you all so much for your incredible support of the show. Again, patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. The 2019 Dennis Haelka Award has been awarded. Last year, Mickey from the Dallas Fuel had won, and this year it's been awarded to none other than Custa. And yeah, so that's a thing. The onstage interview was really funny with Uber and Mickey. You could tell one was very stage trained, Uber. One was not, Mickey. But overall, really cool. They made a really great kind of mashup or a video about why Custa deserves this award. And yeah, I think it was really great. Big congrats to him. I don't want to go into like who should have gotten it kind of thing, because number one, not a productive conversation.
Not at all.
Number two, I don't know. I think Custa's a great pick.
Exactly.
Unless they're like Puck wins or something like that. You're just like, number one, he's not a player. And number two, have you seen this guy on some of his? No, right? So, pretty cool. Any thoughts?
No. I'm happy that they kind of brought it up throughout the season. Like, hey, there's this award for, somebody very pivotal to the scene that ended up passing away very tragically. Kind of be on the lookout for it and just kind of remind people. That was something that I had a problem with last season, where it just wasn't ever brought up. And now it is, and now it's kind of getting some sort of recognition. I think that's great. So
relax.
Yeah. What can you say?
However, there is something that we can argue about, and that is the 2019 Roll Star Awards. We did get them all.
Oh, don't remind me.
And Joe and Yiska, you both got votes in this, right?
No,
I did. I got gifted a ballot, and my thought process on my votes will be coming out within the next couple days.
So you can't give us a little. You can at least give us a little teaser, right?
When we go through them, I can kind of
don't.
I would say my ballot looks similar. I would say it's very similar, other than some egregious names.
Okay, let's go through them then. So first of all, for damage. So for those who aren't familiar, Roll Stars choose four players from each role. So we've got damage first. That's Corey, Ding, Hacksaw, and Sinatra. Yiska, how's this one look for you?
So, okay. Here's the problem, right? I understand that you say, okay, how can you have a Roll Stars in the GOATS manner? Sure. So completely discard everything that happened in GOATS, only focus on 222, and then do that. I can also understand, and by the wording of the article that was announced, I'm not sure if that was the explicit saying what should have been considered in that. And I don't know if you know this better than I do, Joe, what the official ruling was, if there was a definition of what you should be voting in for.
No, it was just very simple. Like, here's a list of players. Vote on
that in itself is a bit of a pity. Like, you should have very definitive,
at least not that I remember. Maybe there was, and I just didn't read it. But
outlines of what should be considered, and if it is the entire year, then Sinatra, for instance, is a fine choice, right? Mm-hmm. Now, apparently, either people didn't watch Corey in the first three stages, or considered one of those to be the case, and said, okay, well, all these DPS players were playing either tanks or supports. How can I judge that? I'm judging based on DPS. But the fact that it's such a wide range of, I hope that is the reason why it is. Like, come on, guys. Corey was legitimately one of the worst Zaryas in the Overwatch League. Like, some of his bubble timings, okay, that might just be to also in terms of communication. I don't know who requests the bubbles. I'm not sure if there is even such a leeway that you want to give. But man, that stuff looked so like off point. And how else are you going to evaluate Zaryas if such a fundamental thing so consistently completely shits the bed? And then, I mean, Sinatra is okay, but dude, we did it again to a guy. This year, we did it again to someone who should be considered the best player in the Overwatch League and has neither made it onto the MVP voting on the first or the second, and not in the Roll Stars. And nobody seems to be considering Rascal whatsoever. Of course, first player in the player impact ratings for one. Certainly, I can understand it more, by the way, that he isn't in the Roll Stars thing, because a substantial amount of the season was played on first brigade, and then he also played BAP teased, of course, after that. So, I mean, considering the DPS is a little harder, but like for MVP at least, I thought maybe people see that injustice and maybe make up for that. No, we completely didn't consider this guy. Of course, like everyone's like, well, he will be considered a very strong player on all these picks. And then, dude, nobody ever remembers that stuff in 5 years. Rings matter, achievements matter. And if we're not honoring that, legacies are kicked through the mud. For me, it was really, really upsetting to not see Rascal get anything this year. And then Corey, I mean, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Like, if you actually considered the entire season, that's a joke pick, dude.
And this is, I agree with you. The problem that we have though is a lot of these DPS players didn't even play DPS roles until stage 3 and 4, right? So can you say Corey is a bad DPS or not worthy of one of these 4 slots because of his time on Zarya when Zarya isn't DPS?
Well, I guess that's what he's saying, is that is a way of looking at it. I personally, I won't speak for Yiska, but I think he doesn't agree with the way that that kind of criteria would be laid out. I think that it should be viewed. Yeah, and I agree. It's very difficult to judge how impactful or how much weight you want to give that in the GOATS meta because it isn't a DPS. But there again, Zarya still is a very large damage dealer within the GOATS meta. It was pretty impactful, just entirely to the whole composition, pretty integral. And he didn't really perform that well. Yes, he performed great on the Widowmaker and the Hanzo towards stage 3, stage 4, but there's a whole half a season that's just kind of missing for me, which feels very, very recency bias, very like flashy. Wow, we got to see him at the end, and he kind of caught some votes that I don't think he necessarily deserved. I think he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but should he be awarded something over, this over Rascal or, a handful of other players?
And I also don't...
Ursa comes to mind, certainly, sure. Right?
And I also don't think either, like, just because you weren't playing an actual DPS role doesn't mean that your role doesn't function like a DPS. Dream said it, but Zarya functions like a DPS in GOATS.
She's a damage dealer in GOATS. Like that was a good chunk of her damage was from Zarya, and that's the reason why Sinatra probably got voted in, is because he did play a mean Zarya, probably one of the best in the league, if not the best, right? Then he goes into stage 3, stage 4, starts to get rotated out. But when he is put in those DPS roles, specifically on the Doomfist, at least that's what kind of jumps into my mind, still finds success. To me, that was the icing on the cake. You have to give it to him. It felt really bad not putting him in there because he had such a fantastic season.
Both Sinatra and Hacksaw. So in the Overwatch League article, they have some like signature stats. Sinatra and Hacksaw both have signature stats from when they were playing non-traditional damage roles, as well as when they were playing Zarya or Brig or whatever.
I can hear you.
We can hear you, Yiska. I think Yiska lost us, though. We can hear you. Stop making loud noises.
I'm sorry.
Are you there? Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay.
Discord call. What did I say? I just said,
in the middle of a recording.
Goes, hello?
Hello?
I'm like, is a phone ringing?
Hello? No.
Is somebody at the door?
Hello?
No, my Discord completely crapped out.
That's so funny.
And I'm like, so I go into my browser and sometimes my internet completely craps out. I'm looking at this lamp if it's blinking, and I go to a website and it takes like 5 seconds to load. I'm like, oh no, this won't be resolved today. Yeah,
that's comical.
Okay. Anyways, all I was saying is that Sinatra and Hacksaw both have stats from their DPS time as well as their non-DPS hero time. So I don't totally buy into it's not about what you played when you were playing DPS.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
it's just
about
DPS.
Kind of is, because they cited those things here.
Yep.
And you only have, for Ding, it's just his Pharah and Sombra time.
Sure.
For Corey. It's his Hanzo and Widowmaker time. Like,
the problem with that is that it's given free reign to the votee. I don't even know if that's the right word for it. Like the voter has the power and can shape their criteria. It's really not implemented from the league. The league's just trying to argue why these players are being voted in. And a lot of what Sinatra and Hoxall did come from heroes that weren't on DPS. But I think, to kind of translate what Yiska's saying, I think that's the thought process that kind of brings you to a conclusion where you think Corey should be put in above Prophet.
I'm just gonna put it out
Rascal.
there. I think Kareev should have been a tank, DPS, and support.
He should have cleaned the
The thing is, here's the thing how you do it, right?
Kappa chat.
You go to. You already took the oomph away from the Kareev thing, because that's the most outrageous fucking thing I've ever seen. Okay, but the thing is here. Okay, you can do two things. You can say, here's an award. We don't give you any criteria. It's called best player or whatever, and then you have a limited amount of people who vote, and they all put out opinion pieces and to explain how this came about. And then everyone can look at that and think, oh, that's a nice thinking model. I may want to adapt that to my thinking. Or, that's an interesting point. Or the second alternative is you give very well-defined parameters, then have a lot of people on vote on it, and then they don't need to define what is actually happening. To not do any of these things is absolutely outrageous. It happens again, dude. Last year, we had the same garbage with the MVP vote, where when you looked at and I hope it leaks again. I want to name and shame
I think it's going to be public. I'm almost positive it's going to be public.
I don't know, man. That last year, it was already an absolute joke how people interpreted that, and then didn't argue their points in a wider circle.
There are some people that aren't, just by nature of their position aren't going to, and this isn't to draw conclusions or hypotheticals. This is just an example. Like if a broadcast talent puts out a vote who they think is the best, do you really expect them to have an opinion piece trying to explain it? They might put out some tweets to kind of like justify maybe if they get some backlash, but there are some people who just aren't going to, by nature of their role within the community or whatever.
And I gotta say, dude, it's an entire I told you so moment, because last year I think we might have been on Crouch, I think so, where we said like last year it was a heaven sent because Jonek was clearly the best player.
Sure.
A revelation. So that like the system was just as bad, but because Jonek was so amazing during the regular season, there was no question. Now we don't have that luxury of having the clearly best player, and we're sitting here and like the number of names are being brought up is twice as big as it should be, like because we don't have these clear definitions. They didn't learn anything because I guess we didn't need to fix it because the result was fine yet.
Yeah, we haven't messed up yet, so why fix it? Yeah, that doesn't make sense. That's not conducive of like progression or growing and refining the system. You kind of have to poke holes and figure out where you could game the system or where problems might come in the future, and that is a very obvious problem that people aren't going to take the vote seriously, or external forces could be impacting their votes, and things could be messing with that, especially when it comes to coaches, like we saw last year. Like you shouldn't really have. It's not that you shouldn't have coaches vote for players, but they shouldn't be allowed to vote for their own players.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they have all the information in the world on that one player, so of course they're going to think they're fantastic.
And they also just
or they're just incredibly biased.
Well, they have a conflict of interest at the very least, right? It's not even that they have to be biased, but it's like, everyone's going to bring up the Tyrong thing, right? Where he voted, was it Jake and Muma last year?
Yeah, it's like, how?
He voted
in
for
what
them.
world?
He goes, I love my
world?
players. Like, that's what it is. And he never said, like, I think that they're the best, or I think he just, they're on my team. Like, what does that say? If you're a player on a team and your coach is voting for somebody else as a role star, like, is there a possibility?
I mean, for one, it means that your coach has a spine, but on the other sense, like, it's unfair to expect players to expect coaches to vote against their own players, right? Like, I remember, by the way, I had a big falling out. Like, all those players ripped me to shreds before they understood what I meant, because the way I framed it was really bad last year, where I said, it's not the problem that you did, but that you could. And it sounded like I meant he shouldn't be a coach in the Overwatch League, when what I meant is it's cruel that you can't even vote for your own players, which shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, but I think there's a problem with not being able to vote for your own players, in the sense that now you have to even the playing field of coaches, right? So every coach has to get a vote, right?
I mean, they do, right?
I mean, yeah. Do they not?
Did they last year? I thought they didn't last year. I thought not every coach voted last year.
I'm not gonna lie.
Every GM got one. So the GMs collected like information from the teams, just like this year.
Something.
Oh no, wait. That's a good question. No, I think that what's the head coaches? Yeah.
Was Tyrone head coach?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah, he still is.
Yeah, he still is.
I pay a lot of attention to the Houston Outlaws. Can you tell?
Yeah.
Super high up on the priority list of games.
Definitely
to keep up with. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess as long as every team is getting an equal vote, then sure, great, awesome. But if not, and again, my understanding was, and we're not allowed to look up things on the show anymore. So,
I mean, that one would take a couple seconds.
That one I would definitely have to dig deep in. Yeah. But given that, okay, fine. Then yeah, you shouldn't be able to vote for your own players.
Yeah.
But even then, still, if you have a team that has 4 players up for MVP votes, kind of makes their vote count less, right? I think that's min-maxing a little bit, but
yeah,
for the sake of Yiska's perfectly competitive systems that he brings up all the time, it's technically not balanced.
It's really just giving people what they deserve, like slaving away 14 hours a day to just
it's not about giving what people they deserve. It's not. If you agreed with every single one of these players, you would still be making the argument. Because how we got there,
of course,
is not how we should have gotten there. So it's not about giving the players what they deserve. It's about creating a system in which the best players get picked.
Yes, in which the most respect or whatever accolades are assigned. Yeah. I mean, it's practically the same. Yeah. Or in
I don't think I've ever heard you use the word practically the same on anything ever. It's either absolutely the same or absolutely not.
Yeah.
I like this new go with the flow hippie style Yiska that we have on the show. It's like, yeah, it's close enough.
Spending too much time with him.
Good enough. I know, rubbing off on him a little bit. Like, isn't it the same thing? Isn't it, though? Let's talk about the tanks. Tanks, Choyobin, Gushue, Mono, and Super. I have a question. Okay. Every time I see Super's name written, there are people who keep saying that Super doesn't deserve to be involved in any of these conversations, whether it's MVP, whether it's role stars, anything else. Am I just misunderstanding something here, that Super's been pretty great?
I genuinely can't. I don't align with that at all. It does not resonate with me. I'd love to hear somebody try to argue that.
That he is that good or is not that good?
It isn't that good. I think he's a fantastic main tank. Easily one of the best main tanks in the league. He isn't seeing a ton of playtime right now. Don't think that just discredits an entire season.
Yeah, I just like
didn't for Sinatra anyway.
What's that?
Didn't for Sinatra anyway, right?
Yeah. Similar argument could be made about Sinatra.
Every time I see it, and I'm just like, am I just Overwatch dumb here? I mean, yes.
No.
But am I like totally missing my assessment on Super and the people who I trust in Overwatch's assessment on Super? But it's such this like thing that gets regurgitated as
it's like the same thing with Bumper. It's like in one hand Bumper is great, and the other hand Bumper is bad.
Yeah.
But that criticism is more warranted.
Not Overwatch League level. I get you.
Yeah.
Great copy pasta, by the way. All right, fair enough. What about these other ones? Gushue making it on there.
I think
Joe?
that one was kind of a fringe. The importance of being put on that roster, being, having a mixed roster that is going to have a hard time communicating and still being able to come out and perform at some of the levels that he did wasn't always necessarily consistent, but still an incredibly talented player at the tank position on a roster that maybe wasn't necessarily conducive of putting him in positions to succeed at all times. I think warrants some praise. Doesn't and there's not too many other main tanks that I think necessarily are that outstanding. Granted, you can say what you want about goats, but I think there are some standouts, and there are times that I think, Gusha probably deserves it, and I could see that. I could see voting for him.
Yeah, I don't know. It was cool. It was surprising, I think, a little bit. So who else do you put? So, I mean, Choyobin, Mono, I think are both probably there and okay, right?
Yeah, I don't hate any of the tanks. I think they're all fine.
Yeah, I think Gushue was the one where it's like...
That's probably the fringe.
The fringiest of mine. Who do you
like? The most controversial.
Who goes against Bumper? I think is one that people bring up quite a bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that either.
Rio's a really interesting one.
Rio.
That's the thing, guys. We're not talking only about main tanks. This is already like the final votings were 3 main tanks, right?
Yeah.
Am I done? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is also on off tanks, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So like there's Fury for one name, certainly, right?
Yep.
I think Fury should have been considered ahead of Mono.
Right. Yeah,
ahead of Gushue. I think Gushue didn't play the entire season. And he was impressive. I mean, whenever he was allowed to play Winston, he's of course very impressive.
Sure.
He's also not a terrible. No, okay. Now let me actually accurately say he's a good Rhine. He's not a great Rhine. So we are scooting this guy into the best role players based on like ahead of Fury. I'd love someone to argue that point. Like even Janu. Honestly, in my opinion, who else do we have on off tank? But if you wanted to sort of balance it out, then like you should have considered an off tank. And I also think on top of that, he is also like definitely not a better player in terms of performance this year than Fury was.
Yeah.
By the way, like. I think if you switch around the order of seasons and you put Fury's season, a stage where he ate all those grabs and whatnot, you put that into stage 4, he's 100% nominated. And it triggers me out to...
Easily.
Tilts me to no end, sorry.
There you go. I almost did the same thing, yeah. So there's... And I get it. And I think there's definitely a recency bias. With every award we've seen so far... Whenever there comes down to like, why is this person not nominated? Why don't they? It's either because they're playing really well now, but they didn't the whole entire time, or the other way around, where there are people who have like, but don't you remember this player from stage 1 or 2 who was doing all of this? And there's, it's Dream is saying it was 2 main tank, 2 off tank, 2 hit stand, 2 projectile, 2.
What are you talking about? It isn't.
Support, 2 flex support.
I think that's the joke.
Oh,
okay, my bad.
I can't, dude. Dreams sometimes, man. I can't tell if he's serious or not unless I can hear him yelling or speaking normal voice, which is just like 60% yelling. So I get it. Fair enough. All right. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely a recency bias, and we've seen it more and more again. But I think the frustrating thing is that recency bias goes through for some people, like Corey, where it doesn't go through for others, like in the other way, where it's like Sinatra. People are like, why is Sinatra? He's not even playing anymore. I'm like, well, did you see him the first two stages? Did you see him? I mean, even now he's great. So I don't know. Let's settle down. Last one, support IDK, Kareev, Moth, Twilight.
Kareev, fan. How? In what world? In what universe?
Didn't you see the Valiant stage 4?
The thing is,
didn't you see him? Didn't you watch?
I don't hate Kareev.
Didn't you watch Overwatch?
Don't understand how he is a role star at a role he didn't even play exclusively and was benched for, and then also played Zarya.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't get that. Why does it matter if you don't play the same role the entire seasons? We have multiple players who didn't play the same role the entire season.
No, because you have to consider that Brigitte is a DPS hero and Zarya is a DPS hero.
Yeah, semantically, sure, but they fill very similar roles where he's been benched for the same position.
Yeah.
And also played another position.
Yeah.
I don't see how that.
And he didn't even have an entire great stage. He had 2 great games.
Yes. Like there are much better. I think Jonak fits in very well. I think Shu had a fantastic season.
Great one. Yeah.
Like controversial, kind of off the cuff, maybe unintuitive. I thought Shu had a fantastic.
No, Shu is definitely Shu. 100% Shu.
Is he a Shu?
How he definitely is. How far down do we want to go before we get to Kareev? Who's the next one? Jonak, Shu, give me another one that you put over Kareev.
Moth and Twilight, they're both in there, but
yes, I don't hate IDK.
Support, right?
Yes, just for flex support in place of Kareev. You put Badoshin there?
No, I mean he really has been.
Violet? I don't hate.
No,
Violet.
absolutely Violet. Come on, man! How is Violet not a better player than Kareev?
I definitely agree over Kareev, 100%. I could say third on that list. I'd put the other 2 above him though.
I want to put one in there for Raucus.
So on that list, Jonak, Shu, Violet, I think that's where I'd put them.
Yeah. I mean, I thought you meant who is
no.
Kareev and the top.
No.
And
that's what I thought too. Is like, how many flex supports do you put above Kareev?
Yeah.
That's what I thought we were doing.
Yeah. Twilight definitely. I don't know about Shaz, but he at least played his role.
Dogman. I'm reading them from chat right now.
No, I think Dogman had a better season than Kareev, yes.
Raucus?
Dude, like, I'm not sure if Kareev is an average flex support, if you consider, all things considered, if you take away the DPS part. Because he played 25% of his season, he was on Zarya. And then, I don't know, like a fifth of the season, he wasn't playing. Like,
yeah. So I do need to at this point kick Yiska off the show. And the reason why is I've just kind of had it with YouTube comments lately, and after
we're gonna catch all kinds of hell.
Feel the heat.
Welcome,
can just feel it. So just know, effective after this show, Yiska's never coming on again, just because of you guys, YouTube.
because I could just put a highlight of 2 great sleep darts and these people would automatically be on my side, right? But the same metric that they were mesmerized by Kareev. Get out, dude.
I mean, they were sick plays. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't make up for an entire season.
No, I'm pretty sure if you ask, I'm no. I think packing is the Tyrone type.
Yeah, no, he'd be like, of course. What do you mean?
Yeah, no, but I mean, if you take him aside, or
he's ride or die.
Like,
I get it, but
yeah,
I also don't want those people voting for World Stars or MVPs.
Yes.
I think packing would be cognizant enough to be like, well, why should I? I'm just going to vote for my players because that's my guy. I shouldn't vote. I'm just going to be biased. I feel like packing probably understands his bias. Doesn't necessarily. I mean, whatever.
Oh, this is so. I feel like I'm just sabotaging.
It just
Yiska
doesn't make
YouTube.
any sense.
Bring it on.
I'm just sabotaging him.
For some things, like I saw many comments on YouTube that called me out on my bullshit, rightly so. But this, like, Kareev is non-negotiable with me. Like, come on, guys.
Oh man! All right, too funny. That's the Overwatch League Roll Stars. I don't know. Overall, like, all things considered, not as bad as I kind of anticipated the choices to be, if I'm being honest. From what we've seen in the past, I'm just like, there's so many ways that this can just be messed up. And from almost every award except for the Dennis Halka award, which I think went to Mickey, rightfully so, last season, and Custa, I'm great. Awesome. There's nobody else where I'm like, ooh, well, actually, Gamsu and I are best friends, and he helped me change a spare tire one time, and, like, I don't know, he adopts puppies and puts them all in his bedroom.
I don't want to bring this, like, go too ham on this, but I had to look just to see what Reddit had to say about the Dennis Avolka award, and some of the the justifications for, like, their own personal Redditor nominees was insane to me. Like, well, did you know Gamsu goes on hikes and he has a dog? Well, fantastic. Half the league probably should be in nomination for the award. Like,
it's just weird to me that people argue who the nicer dude is.
Yeah,
I feel like this completely betrays
all
the
of who, by the way, have never
award.
actually had a genuine conversation with any of them.
No,
it's just off of whatever they can scrape together. I think he's nice.
Yeah, and that's.
Let me tell you a little bit about something called an image consultant.
Nice. Yeah.
You ever heard of an image consultant? Do you know how much people pay for image consultants? Companies, organizations. It's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that these people aren't good people, or just because you haven't had firsthand experience doesn't actually mean that by some happy accident you're wrong.
Sure.
It's just that, like, I don't know, like, you're probably not in a place to.
Great example, right? Michael Jordan when we were kids. How could he be mean? How could he be rude? He's the best player in the world. Space Jam. How is that guy an asshole?
Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, Bugs Bunny, dude. You can't be a bad person, be with Bugs Bunny, dunking donuts and dunking basketballs.
Not the nicest person. You know, not super nice.
Great, also, way worse baseball player than the movie gave him credit for as well.
Really?
Yes, really.
I'm blind to meat sports.
Okay, fair enough.
By the way, people who say Gaggery haven't kept up with Korean news, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
Can you?
But I haven't, and now I want to know.
No, that's not a topic that should be brought up because it was sort of hearsay. But there was something in Korea rumbling that happened, and it was never proven. And I wouldn't dude, Custard, like, his accolades are amazing. Like, the best argument or the worst argument that I saw against Custard was like, well, he has been on 2 teams, so twice as many players were exposed to him, and therefore they would. Yes, he has been a nice guy on 2 teams, bro. Yes. He made it through 2 hellholes and made them better by being nice. Imagine that, dude. And what is that? He also spent some of his own money and organized more for a children's hospital. Dude, it's unreal. Like, we're at this point we're arguing like who's the better guy. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, like which first responder to 9/11 was the nicer guy. Like, come on, man. It doesn't matter, dude.
Yeah. All right.
It's so silly.
Woo! Got some sodium on this show. Some sodium. Have you guys ever heard of something called a chaffle?
What?
A chaffle. Sorry, on the topic of sodium and salt. So I've been on a new diet for a while. It's keto, so it's like you can't. It's super low carb.
Is that? No, go ahead. Sorry.
It's essentially you put cheese and egg, mix it all up. You can spice it however you want. Put it in a waffle maker, and it ends up being an awesome substitute for bread. So
any cheese?
Just about. Like we had biscuits and gravy yesterday, where the biscuits were just chaffle. And so you put like a little bit more spice on it, some more pepper.
Sure.
And then we made like chaffle churros. So it's like, then you're putting a little bit of cinnamon in there and all this kind of stuff. And then we did chaffle pizza, chaffle pastrami Reuben.
How much did you make of that?
He's just buying all kinds of eggs and cheese. I hope you're eating your fiber. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Hope you're eating your leafy greens. You get some fiber one.
You're talking about this like it's an ingredient like kimchi.
It's great. It's good.
I eat chaffle with everything. I put it in my Cheerios.
It is like one of those. Yeah, it's so. I mean, the biggest problem with having to do like a low carb diet is if you love bread.
Yeah,
it sucks, right?
It's
okay, that makes sense.
You know, so you find a bread substitute. And there are a lot of ways with like almond flour.
I've heard like cauliflower.
And this is the best one I've found
stuff
that actually really hits that like that bread withdrawal thing. So, anyways, we're we sidetracked there. We're allowed 3 minutes of sidetrack for KT.
Yeah, guys.
Oh, what was that again? What was that again? That segment where we just did?
Oh yeah.
Unnecessary hypotheticals.
Good old unnecessary hypotheticals. All right, let's talk about last week's play-ins. We got to do it kind of quickly. Not super quickly, just kind of quickly. So both Spitfire and Seoul Dynasty advance. I think the biggest kind of surprise here was Guangzhou.
Yeah.
Going out in the first round.
Looking as good as they are.
Or not in the first round, sorry. Against Seoul, right? I don't think anybody saw. So Guangzhou beats Chengdu 4-1. They looked pretty decisive. Everything looked according to plan. Shanghai beats Philadelphia Fusion. Sure. Sorry, Philly fans. Turns out your week 5 or week 4 win against Seoul actually meant nothing. And then Spitfire in 10 maps defeat Shanghai Dragons.
Was it 10? I thought it was like 8.
I don't know. We'll double check now. Just to make sure.
Yeah, 8 maps. 8 maps.
8 maps. Thank you.
First 8 map set.
Win 4-3. And then Guangzhou kind of gets stomped, surprisingly, by Seoul. I feel like this is the really big surprising one here.
Yeah.
Is Seoul looking...
And they look good. Like
they looked
very good.
I don't think any of us really saw it coming, necessarily.
No, not at all. This is a team that was like painfully average throughout the season, and then they come out with this. I got some opinions, and they good.
Who was it again? I remember. Okay, so Seoul played Shock. I think it was stage 1, right? In a tiebreaker, and they wanted to coin flip, but Shock wanted to play, and then Shock bashed them into the ground, and everyone's like, "Oh, Seoul is just bad. They don't care about playoffs." And then in the first playoff match, they completely stomped the other team, which was considered a big overdog. Does anyone remember that type of storyline? Like,
I remember the first bit, but
the problem is, I hope that is not a pattern that we're going to see again, because then I would have much rather seen.
It was NYXL. You're right. Thank you, chat.
Yeah. I would have much rather seen, Guangzhou in the playoffs. I hope Seoul keeps that level, and we are going to see at least 2 great matches from them.
Mm-hmm. I think we're going to see quite a few matches from them, personally.
So is this... So on the Seoul Guangzhou match, do you attribute this more to Seoul just honestly just playing really, really well? Or do you feel like Guangzhou lost a step between their match with Chengdu and then their match with Seoul? And keep in mind, Seoul only had to prepare for 1 match, right? Guangzhou had to prepare for Chengdu and then Seoul, which I don't think is insignificant. For me, I just felt like Seoul looked really good, and I don't know that there's any team that played on Friday, Chengdu, Guangzhou, Shanghai, or Fusion, that could have beat Seoul if they played like they played in that match.
I'm willing to say, like, after playoffs is finished, I think we'll probably go back and look at Charge and probably be able to, like, put them over, like, let's say the Spark, right? The Charge were probably going to be better than the Spark if I had to put money on it, right? Like, we could have had a better playoff if some of these play-in teams were shifted around. I don't think it was necessarily that the Charge were playing are a bad team, right? I don't think that it's necessarily that the Charge are a bad team. I just think Seoul was firing at every possible cylinder. I think they were incredibly prepared for everything Charge was going to throw at them. I think everybody in that team was playing fantastic, and it showed. It showed 4-1, very convincing on almost every map. Great showing from them.
Can I just say that this whole play-in thing was so unsatisfying to me?
I mean,
I hate the fact that these 6 teams who really fought through really highs and really lows, are essentially all decided through 1 or 2 matches. Don't give the 7 and 8 seeds buys. Give me a double elimination bracket. Give me, like, I don't effing care. Give me a group stage. Make it a full-on week. Make them play 5 games. Like, make it actually worth something. Because right now, number one, we can't tell how good Seoul is or how good Seoul's going to be. There's, again, London Spitfire, probably 2-3 fights difference between them making it to playoffs and not.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Like, it's just like, I hate it when we see these huge pivotal qualifying moments end up coming down to, like, these really afterthought 1 match little weeks. Like, make play-ins a whole thing. This could have been an amazing thing. Take them somewhere else to play them. Give us an extra week for playoffs. I don't even care. But man, it was so unsatisfying for me. I'm just like, okay, Guangzhou loses to Seoul. They go down to the loser bracket. What does it look like now?
Man, you're having a Yiska emotion that I don't have. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Because, like, I agree with you that I should probably be thinking like this from my historical standpoint.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it just seemed to me like a nice ramp up to the playoffs, and playoffs are double elim. It's a little bit more serious, and maybe one thing that was unsatisfying to me, or not unsatisfying, but the games that I expected to be very competitive weren't, and then the other way around, right? That was weird for me. But yeah, I agree that to some degree, I mean, Shanghai lost it for themselves, to be fair. Like, that King's Row thing, what is going on, dude? That was heartbreaking. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't hate it to have more top-level Overwatch at the end of the season in the play-in format. Like, I definitely would be for that.
I honestly, so here's the thing, though. My only problem with the solution I represented is I think that if you do something more full featured, I feel like those play-in teams have a much more significant advantage in the final playoff tournament. Because number one, they've gotten to play more maps on the meta, but number two, it shows that they're the best in this meta right now because there's no more meta switch between play-ins and playoffs, right? I don't know though. I just felt like A, it could have been more of a spectacle. B, and we're still dealing with this, right? Where the best team in the world over the course of an entire season isn't actually necessarily the best team that actually wins the grand finals at the end of the season. We've talked about it multiple times. We're not going to talk about it again. But this is just another one of those things where it's like, why? Like, why can't you make this more of a thing? Make them play 2 matches in a day. Sure, make it a long couple days. Make it a little bit more grueling. I don't really care. But make it show that these teams are like, London, like the teams at some point you have to stop giving teams advantages just for finishing in the top part of these arbitrary cutoffs that you start creating, right? So top 6 make it in. It's like top 7 get this advantage. Cool. If you're going to give them advantage, having to only prepare for 1 match is a really big advantage. And I don't know. I don't think that, man, I wanted so much more from play-ins and I just didn't get them.
Yeah. I think it's just kind of a cause of, okay, we're going to take a bunch of the lower seeded teams and just kind of make them play each other. Like, it's never really going to be all that exciting.
I think they could seeded, right? Like, these are teams that finished top 12. No, sure, 11th and 12th seed, great. But top 50%, the fact that...
Well, within that top 50%, these are the lower seeded teams out of the 12, and they're not always going to put up the best games. I do think that this is a problem with the league, that I think they could build these things a little bit better. They could create something a little bit more of a spectacle to get, eyes on it. But I don't know. It's whatever for me.
It's especially like why John's point works so well is because strengths of schedule are so wildly different. Where saying, okay, you made 7th and you made 12th, the difference of actual performance over the season might be that the 12th team had actually a better performing season than the 7th in everything but score. Because like London had the easy division. It's probably not going to change next year either. And then also you have to consider when the patches hit and how good those teams were. I think, for instance, didn't the Charge have one of the hardest schedules? And then the Titans, like that stuff matters a whole lot. And then to be so, razor sharp with the seedings, I understand why that might be a problem for people.
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay. I got that out there. Any other thoughts on the play-ins we're talking about next week?
Who makes it deeper, London or Seoul?
I think that's more. I'm trying to figure out what you mean by that question, because it depends on the bracket. But I'm thinking, do you mean who's the better team right now?
Yeah, very generally, sure.
Okay, so I think that Seoul was the better team. If I remember correctly, I think London has the easier bracket.
So Seoul play Titans. Yep. London play NYXL.
Yes.
So which case, and immediately I kind of go London.
Right? Yeah.
Right? Because who knows what NYXL is going to do in the playoffs?
Yeah.
I don't think that Sigma is necessarily bad for them, but I don't know. Again, huge question mark for me.
A lot of question marks for a lot of these teams, I think.
So let's say Seoul. I think Seoul, let's say Seoul does hypothetically defeat Titans. If they do, I mean, Shock probably is the only team that I look at that would beat Seoul.
Mm-hmm.
So while I think London actually makes it further, I think if Seoul finds a way to beat the Titans, they go all the way to the grand finals.
What I will say, though, is, and that could mean everything, but I've heard absolutely nothing of the Spark and the Gladiators. That could simultaneously be one great match or an absolutely bad one.
I think it's going to be just a tire fire. I think it's going to be really bad. And I think Gladiators are just going to walk all over Spark and just send them straight to the losers bracket without much effort.
Yeah. I don't have any faith in the Spark in this one.
Like, think about, like, who plays Doomfist for this team? Adora? Sassen? Who? I don't know. You put Godsby on McCree? Okay, great. You get ran over by McCree, or by Reapers. I don't see that team being able to pilot this meta, let alone play it poorly.
Doesn't Sassen have a Doom, though? If I remember correctly?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know that it's going to, be as good.
Yeah.
Not the team that I'd say works together the best out of all of them, definitely communication issues, but that's understandable, but you can't ignore it. Yeah, I do not see that team doing well at all. It'd be a miracle if they did.
Yeah.
I think Gladiators has the pieces, the recipe to be able to play this meta.
Let's formalize this process a little bit, because we're already going.
Sorry.
We're going a little far.
We jumped.
Match number 1: Vancouver Titans versus Seoul. 1 seed versus 8 seed.
Good.
Put your money where your mouth is. Who goes ahead and takes this first one?
This is hard. I say the Titans, but I think this is very competitive.
I mean, it's so hard to, like I said it in the pre-show, right? We have to consider whenever a big balance patch comes in, and I consider this one big. It's not like 2-2 goals to 2-2
Sure.
But it's still pretty big. Sigma much more influential than other characters that were introduced in the past. So everything regresses to the mean in those metas, right? Like, you cannot say because Titans was the best team over the season that necessarily holds up here, right? Definitely there's some residual benefit that you should be giving them when you're trying to judge them. But we have hard evidence for Seoul being great at this meta in comparison right now. So
one match, by the way.
I agree with Titans, but
I think it's going to be very competitive, and I wouldn't be surprised if Seoul beat them in a very close 7-game, maybe even 8-game set, right? But I think whoever loses from that is going to do very well through the losers bracket. Have a very long run through the losers bracket. We will not be losing any of these teams anytime soon. Whoever does lose, but I've got the Titans just probably for the simple fact that they've just been more consistent.
Keep in mind, though, whenever a new patch hits and your new stage hits, the first couple of weeks are always very volatile. So it's very possible that other teams look at
3 weeks. Yep.
Yes. So it is very possible that teams just look at Seoul and say, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. Let's copy this and be better because we have the better executionists." Right? Is that a word? I just made that up. German. But yeah, it's possible that everything moves towards Seoul. And if I was a betting man, I would say 55 Titans.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah, that's about close. Where I would put it too. Yeah. Cool. All right, Seoul versus Vancouver. I agree. Titans. I think.
Just barely by the skin of their teeth.
And also, the I don't necessarily think that if these teams meet again in, let's say miraculously in the grand finals, I don't necessarily know if I'll believe the same thing.
I love that grand final, by the way. Yeah. As long as this is close and we get that again in Philadelphia with a live crowd sold out, what could you ask for? That's fantastic.
Sold out.
Unintentional, by the way, Chad. Before I get flamed, that was not intentional.
Oh, are you kidding me, dude? You should
100%.
As soon as Dynasty get a homestand and they sell out, if they're not making shirts that are
sold out,
soul white that say sold out in the black and gold colors, I mean, I just made them hundreds of thousands of dollars right here. Like, come on.
Fair
Anyways,
enough. Yeah.
Seoul versus Vancouver. All three of us are going Titans here. So let's go down to Spark versus Gladiators. All right. Spark versus Gladiators. I think I say
so
Gladiators.
Yeah, this is Gladiators 4-0. Like, people are asking what DPS they play. I think we start to really see hydration being put in the starting six again. Has a history on Doomfist, looks decent on Doomfist historically. I don't think Spark can even play this meta. I think they're going to go out 4-0 without much of a fight.
Yiska?
Agreed, yeah. Yeah. Gladiators and 70 Gladiators.
70? I'd probably put it to 80, but I'm pretty confident.
I don't know if I can make the 4-1 call, but I can make the 4-0 call, but I can make a 4-1 call on it.
I think 4-1 is a lot safer, and historically, like, I always think that there's room for control to be a little, shaky for any team, but I do not see Spark being able to do anything here.
Yeah.
I struggled to see how they play this meta like cohesively at all. Like, Godsby again hasn't had a fantastic season. Has he had some okay Widowmaker performances? Sure. Let's not forget his Zarya grabs. Let's not forget his bubble timings. Let's not forget his Sombra. Like, not a fantastic season for the boy.
Yeah.
I don't know what he plays. Maybe they come out with a Pharah look. Maybe they come out something weird. I don't see it, though.
Fair enough. All right. Match number 3. A pretty interesting one. NYXL versus Spitfire. Lose when it matters, wins when it matters. That's what these two teams come down to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good, yeah. I will say the exciting part about this is that there's rarely a Spitfire Excelsior game. I think there has only been one that isn't a banger.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about these teams where, because they're Korean and the Jonak Prophet thing,
their expectations are so high. Like, they are the best teams.
That was one of my favorite things in this entire Jonak skin thing, where he's like with the developers and he goes like, does Prophet get one too? And they're like, nah. And he's like, yes, knowing that he should deserve one.
Yeah.
like there's definitely something there. And they just play pretty good Overwatch to great Overwatch against each other. So I think it's going to be a banger, but I think it's Spitfire.
I think this is a historical battle of styles, and that could just be a changing of narratives if New York actually just bombs out. But historically, New York comes in, plays very methodical, plays very slow. London, well, they've got some of the best mechanical players in the world. They like the brawl, right? So I think that's going to be at least how I build this match, where it's, the tortoise and the hare, defense versus offense, who wins. Sadly, this is not peak New York. Again, I wonder how they're gonna finagle this new Doomfist Reaper, Doomfist Pharah. How does that work with their composition? Do we see Pine? Yeah, I don't know. It's very hard for me to say anything positive about New York. Yes, Meko has been pretty flexible. I'm struggling to see where they can succeed. I mean, again, you're even taking one of your best players off of his best character. Like, you're having Jonak play Moira now. Maybe even Ana, and even on some maps that doesn't always work out. I don't know. Like, I don't see a world where London loses this unless they just get in their own way. I think they drop maps for sure because it's London. But yeah, I think London wins this.
I'm double checking something here. Playoffs.
If you're looking if they are being played on the same day, they are. So it's entirely possible that next week we already don't have London anymore in the.
Oh, really?
Like, for instance, right? Because what happens is you're playing all the first rounds, And then you're also playing the losers bracket. I assume it's the loser. I think it's the first round losers bracket and the first round semis.
Yes.
From the amount of games. And then next week, we're going to have losers round 2, winners finals, losers round 3, losers finals, and then grand final alone in week 4 in Philadelphia, right?
Yep.
So somebody in chat brings up a pretty interesting point. Do you think London struggles against Pharah? Could that be abused in the New York game with Libero? I think they figured that one out. I think from now on, I think that was a beautiful example of mid-game adaptation from them, which I don't think we've really seen too much from them. Yes, it was a struggle and they bled a lot of maps doing it, but I think they finally got there, putting Prophet into the duel just to create some space and relieve pressure. And I don't see them not, or just kind of forgetting that was a very successful outcome for them. So I just think that they mirror and just play better, or at least play as good.
Yeah, I've said it before. I've said it again. I will never choose NYXL to win another playoff match until they finally do.
And I mean, we talked about this in the pre-show. Like, is this even enough of a match to say that this instills faith? Is beating London instill faith?
Depends on how.
Here are the last 2 teams that NYXL has beaten in the playoffs. Are you ready for this one? LA Gladiators, I believe stage 2 or stage 3 of this year.
Yeah.
And then the Dallas Fuel stage 4 of last year.
Yep.
Not the best track record.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is not the Dallas Fuel or LA Gladiators. This, I mean, it's London.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Georgetown says Dallas almost won that match. They did. It was 3-2.
Yeah.
I think it was 3-0 against LA Gladiators.
Another fantastic point Yiska brought up, John, you brought this up in kind of a preamble. Like, London is a team that plays well in playoffs, and New York, historically, as much as I don't necessarily buy into it just yet, are not a playoff team. They do not have a great track record in playoffs. Like, this looks great for London.
All right, we're gonna play a game. You ready?
Let's go.
This game is called
Unnecessary Hypothetical.
And the unnecessary hypothetical that we're posing right here. Well, there's 2 unnecessary hypotheticals, actually. And this one actually came from Yan the Yeti on Twitter saying, are the London Spitfire the king of crumble or the king of clutch? I said in the pre-show, king of clutch, 100%. But what do you guys think? Are they the king of clutch or the king of crumble?
I was pretty on the fence with this. Like, I really didn't know which way to kind of go with it. I wanted to say they were kind of both at the same time, where in the regular season they just kind of get in their own way. But then, at least from one instance, we've seen this team really show up when nobody really expected them to. I think everybody had their reservations with London and still had a little bit of faith just because everybody knows how good these players can be. But at the time, they really just weren't showing it. And then they come into playoffs looking fantastic. Yeah, and Yiska brought up a great point earlier, talking about how, like, Prophet and Gesture haven't really lost a final that they've been in. Is the team as a whole? Yeah, I'd say that they're the kings of clutch. If anything, I think it's close, but I'd say clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same. So a point I brought up beforehand is I'm pretty sure that if you flip London's playoff results, they would win. They would still end up, even if they won every stage and every major tournament that they actually lost, and they lost every major tournament that they've won so far, they would end up winning less money. That's
less
clutch.
money, less prestigious. Yeah.
That to me, that's just clutch. And I know it's definitely probably oversimplifying like so many variables, but just put they're clutch. They win when it matters. They even showed it this last week. They didn't look great against Shanghai. They won. They got the job done.
People also need to realize, and I'm going to get a feature on this out, but champions in Overwatch go through the trial by fire. Champions need to suffer. The Shock needed to suffer before they could beat the Titans. The Titans needed to suffer when they were run away. They suffered a whole lot.
Oh, yeah.
The Shanghai Dragons needed to suffer. Certainly the organization. KDP members also lost contenders final, right? Like, all these people needed to suffer. You know who never suffered in his life? You know who never lost a final that he has participated in? It's Prophet, bro. And, like...
To be fair, Gesture as well. To be fair.
Yes, of course. Gesture and Prophet. And these, like, that is an anomaly in Overwatch, right? I think they've only ever lost one playoff series that was against Philly Fusion. Was it stage 2 or stage 3 last year?
I don't remember.
Did they even make stage playoffs this year? No, true. They must have. They must have lost one. No, I'm talking bullcrap. But the thing is still, like, there is something, especially in Prophet, which is why I singled him out a little bit, is...
Sure, of course.
When the pressure is on, I'm not sure if he feels more motivated or if he just plays the absolute same when everyone else around him is crumbling. But he just gets into these situations and then he's anti-fragile, dude. Like, you will not we have not seen Prophet go under in the final. We've only seen massive carry performances by him. What also really, like, brought me back is, dude, Bedosen is back. I think Bedosen is back. Like, Bedosen had great, like, without Bedosen, being the leadership figure, and I think we're not talking about leaders enough as well. Without being the leadership figure, I don't know if you read that interview with, I think it was Fury, where Bedosen just said, remember, like, how great it felt to win the final. Right? And then they just came around, and Bedosen had some really clutch moments that would otherwise get you a Roll Stars nomination during the regular season. And I think Bedosen is back. That is a thing. I think Prophet was never really gone. Fury had a nut season. If Gesture can get off the
Gesture apparently can play Sigma.
Like, Fury somehow finds that might be the most ridiculous thing about this all. Fury somehow finds Orisa to be fun. Like, these are mutants, dude. Like, I think London. And by the way, if I go through the brackets that I have in mind, I think losers round 2 is when Spitfire and Dynasty meet, and that's going to be a dope match.
That would be good.
I think I see what you're going with as well, and I would agree.
Something that Frog for Life says is maybe the players just don't care when there's nothing to lose. I don't think it lines up. So I don't think it's a matter of caring. It's one thing. I think of it more of like the mother getting the strength to lift a car because, you know, their kid's underneath. It's not that they don't care about their kid when it's not flipped over on top of them. It's just that when it is, they care. They either care a lot more, summon an additional strength. There's a gear that they don't totally hit, and maybe it's a mindset thing or whatever. But it's not so much a lack of caring as much as it is just a lack of ability to perform your best when there's not things on the line. In baseball, there's, you know, percentages that try to, and entire algorithms that try to mathematically defined a clutch factor. It's not something that we have in Overwatch.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah.
But, you know, there's players who, you know, bat 175 on the season And then when there's a runner in scoring position, bat over 400. And it's not because that they are all of a sudden they care. There's something on the line. They don't care about their other at bats as much as like there's something that about that situation that brings out the best in that player.
100%.
I'm not one of those people. I'm like more of like a consistently mediocre type of thing where I'm like, I'm going to bat 275, 280, whether there's running in scoring position or not, nice and consistent. But there are definitely people who like live off of that adrenaline rush, make their
pressure out of
Off
diamonds.
of it, that pressure. Yeah, it's just totally a thing. All right, last one. We haven't talked about Shock versus Rain. I don't see a world in which Shock lose.
Yeah, I think it could be like sleeper competitive, but I don't see Shock losing.
I think optimistically 4-2.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious. I don't know how to place Rain in the losers bracket.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy for me.
No, it's not. I don't think they'll do poorly, but I'd have to see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
Joe. I'm also sorry. Go ahead.
Joe, and you, John. Do you think that this is the easiest match to call?
No, I think Gladiators just mopped the Forest Spark.
Okay.
But like, I see what you're saying, and yeah, this is.
I do. I actually do think this is. I do think that there's a world. And part of it is I just don't know and understand Spark well enough personally. I just like they're one of the teams that like I try to make sure that I'm always watching the top teams every week at the very least. And Spark are always one of those teams where it's like if I can't, I just don't. And so I have no idea how they're going to respond to this meta. I have no idea how we've seen Gladiators get hit pretty hard by meta shifts in the past. And while they've been consistent this year through those meta changes, I'm not wholly confident that this is one where I think that they're trending upwards.
That's fair.
So I don't know. Like, I feel very confident in Shock's ability to whichever end of the bracket to see them in the grand finals. And I don't think that if they're going down to the losers bracket, they're doing it from Rain.
Yeah. Dude, it's so hard. That's the thing. Like, it's not that I expect Atlanta to be very strong or that I expect Shock to not be. But there's so much question marks for me in that Atlanta roster. Like, in my mind, I almost want to say, okay, let's do like 60-10 or something, and the rest we just leave to randomness. And like whatever could happen. I don't know what FRD is on Sigma. If he even plays that, what about Dako? Where's that boy?
That's a great question.
Ursa Doom?
Ursa Doom is pretty sick. Like I'll tell you now, Ursa Doom's pretty sick.
So like there's so many of these questions where I'm thinking, I don't know, man. It's just question marks in my mind. That's why I don't like on paper. I agree with you guys that it should be easy to call. But there's just so much confusion about how this might play out in my mind that I can't say.
I think there is some upset potential, but it's really hard to bet against Shock. Like a lot of, or some of these teams, I shouldn't say a lot of these teams, some of these teams, you look at like how the meta is shaking out. You're just like, I don't even know how you play these heroes. I don't know anybody that historically even plays these heroes. Atlanta still can fit that bill. Like they have, you can kind of picture how they might play this. Yes, we don't know where Dako is, if FRD is going to be playing Eraser, if he's playing Sigma, who knows? Where's Popo playing? Is he going to stick on his Eraser that he's historically been very good on? I don't know. But at least you can kind of make some sense of it. Where you look at NYXL, you look at Spark. I don't know what this team looks like. They could do a whole role swap. I have no idea. Atlanta still makes sense. That's why I think they could do well. I do think that it's going to be like surprisingly competitive, but I have Shock doing, like, they have the bench. They have fantastic players, world beaters. Like it would be a travesty to see them not advance.
And I would say it would be totally out of their character, especially with games on the line. I mean, what they've lost the first stage 1 and stage 2 playoffs, I think were both the Titans, and that was it.
Stage 1 and 3, they won stage 2.
1 and 3. Yeah.
Yep.
And was stage 2 against Titans?
Yep. They lost to Titans in the final stage 1. They beat the Titans in the final stage 2, and then they lost to Shanghai stage 3.
So it was all 3, but they only won one.
That's 1 to 2 place finishes all season long. That's fantastic.
It's really tough to then go, but Atlanta Reign had a good stage 4.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I think Atlanta will do well.
Then.
Sure.
You know, and guess who was the only other team that was undefeated that stage? San Francisco.
Atlanta.
Shock.
To be fair, Atlanta had like a pretty easy stage 4.
They did.
They played a bunch of poop teams.
So like, there's just not a world in which I'm like.
I agree.
Even when Atlanta played their best, you could argue that the Shock even played better, even though they finished slightly lower in stage 4. I want to double check though who they played. We're gonna do it. So they beat Seoul. The Shock did. Then they go and play LA Gladiators.
Shanghai.
Seoul. Okay, fair enough. Then you have
beat Chengdu. Then they beat Titans at the homestand, and then they beat
Titans and Valiant, yeah.
Then they beat Titans and Valiant at the homestand.
That's a pretty difficult bracket.
Sorry, Reign fans. Like, you had a great stage 4, but there's one team that had a better one, and you're
it just so happens you're playing
first round. Yeah, sorry.
I don't think Atlanta fans listen. I know you're out there. I know you're boiling. You're boiling mad. I don't think they're going out in the losers bracket too early. I think you're going to get a few more matches out of them before they depart. I think they'll do okay for themselves.
Cool. All right, one last thing, and then we got to get out of here. We're already going a little long. One more. What are we? The
unnecessary hypotheticals.
This one we posed before the show, and it is hypothetically down the road, if the Seoul Dynasty win Overwatch League Season 2, is Ryu Jaehong the greatest Overwatch player of all time? And Yiska, you're the one who posed this question. So I'm going to give you the opportunity.
It was Joe.
No, it was me.
It was Joe. Never mind. Sorry. Joe, since you posed the question, qualify it a little bit and then give me your answer.
With how much he impacted the game, how good he was at Ana, how I'd say dominant Lunatic High was for a specific time. Coming into this, upsetting Titan, right? Let's hypothetically, right? They upset the Titans, and they go to the grand finals, winners bracket side. Like, I feel like he's at least on the ballot, or re-entered on the ballot for GOAT. He's played, he's been at the top level for so long, done very well for himself. Yes, I agree. Season 1, even season 2 hasn't been fantastic just as a team, but his performance has gotten better in season 2. Season 1, yeah, it was pretty poop.
Okay. So chat, all right, Twitch chat, if you're going to answer no, you have to respond to who is higher than Jaehong on his
Let's go, my disciples.
As an impact. So we
did
get one Prophet already.
I agree. Prophet is the best Overwatch League player, best Overwatch player, but is he the greatest yet? I don't know. I don't know that it's decided yet. Either way, and that's why I had to qualify it with Seoul wins. If London wins, it's Prophet's hands down. But if London doesn't even make it to the grand finals,
if London wins and Prophet has another of those carry performances, bro, you need 2 more Overwatch leagues to get him off that throne, my dudes.
How could you even argue that? If London wins another Overwatch League title, he's the GOAT. 100%, and the best. I think there's a pretty clear distinction, no?
And keep in mind, I see Jonak brought up. Come on, guys. We is existing in a universe where it didn't. The Big Bang wasn't with the start of the Overwatch League, my guys.
Yes, this is an Overwatch League. This is like Apex Season 1 on, at least.
Yeah.
Right?
Didn't even.
So we're talking over the course of competitive Overwatch as we know it.
Yes.
So, Jonak is not. Yeah,
that's interesting.
If NYXL win, and Jonak finds a way to turn off, does he get a consideration?
Say that again.
If Jonak goes off and NYXL ends up winning the entirety of Season 2?
I don't know that I think you could probably try to argue it. I wouldn't agree though.
I don't remember. Like he was never. I don't want to say he was ever bad, but
he just didn't play.
Pre Overwatch League.
He's only played in the Overwatch League. If he did, it was like in some back alley Korean tournament on like.
I gotta double
20
check
viewers.
now. Maybe I'm misremembering here.
They bailed out of Apex Season 4 because LW Blue was going to the state.
You're right. Yeah, I was just like LW Blue, of course.
Yeah,
but you're totally right. That he didn't actually play.
No, that was going to be his rookie showing. Was in Apex Season 4.
You can't really say Jonak yet.
Not yet. Not yet. At least
it's like saying LeBron 5 years ago. Like, sorry, dude. MJ played a little longer. Now though, who knows?
If London I would agree. If London makes the grand finals, Prophet's the go. And I saw somebody argue that like, oh well, Prophet didn't exist till Apex Season 4. I agree.
True.
But the level of dominance that he's shown, Apex Season 4, APAC, Stage 1, Season 1, Season 1 championship. This season, just being a very good player, going to the grand finals again for another title shot, even just getting there, I think is go. I think that's signed, sealed, delivered. Prophet is the greatest of all time right now.
I will say that it is impressive that Jaehong has been around for as long as he has.
Since APAC 2016, he was fantastic.
APAC 2016.
That's a long time, guys.
That's why I need to, like, in order to answer the question, I need to qualify if Jaehong actually goes to the level that we are used to from Jaehong in Season 2, Apex Season 2 and Apex Season 3. I'm willing to entertain that he has a stronger claim. Now, okay, for me in my mind, GOAT is not. There is one, definitely. In my mind, the GOAT title is you need to pass the threshold of someone else, but you need to do it by a lot.
Sure.
And I agree that then if Jaehong actually pops off, and by the way, his Moira did look great, as Dream pointed out in his VOD review on Moira, but if he pops off, I personally weigh the Apex seasons all very highly. So I think his achievements would have to be weighted a little bit higher than Prophet's. But because people are too close, and I saw your eye sparkle up when someone said Rascal in chat, like if for instance Rascal keeps popping off,
that's another great contender that I need to think of.
I think if these people pop off, then we can't name a GOAT at this point in time. The only
100%.
way for me to say that we have a GOAT in Overwatch is if Prophet does what he did last year.
Okay, so let's just, elephant in the room. Are we going to crown a pantheon? Do we have like some five gods level of melee storylines?
Yes, we do.
Well, let's get to writing, boys. Let's get to writing.
I'm going through the Apex Season 2, some of the players in here right now. And it's kind of insane. You had Mono, Afrika Freaks Blue, Arhan on Afrika Freaks Blue. Good old Tyron coaching that team. Alarm on BK Stars with Bunny and Carpe.
As tank.
Alarm playing tank.
Yeah.
Yep, as tank. You got Birdring, Panker together on Kung Du Uncia. Lunatic High, then, of course, you've got Miro, Toby, good old Zunba. Who are you? Yiska. If Yiska went to Overwatch League, would he be in that conversation? And he could be at least as relevant as Jaehong. Would he be in that consideration for the greatest of all time?
Don't say it.
No, I think he'd be in consideration for one of maybe the a fantastic esports player, right?
Sure.
He has fantastic track record outside of Overwatch, but I don't think you could say greatest of all time. No, I don't think you could. I think he's should get some sort of accolade just for being around and just being able to find success wherever he goes. But in Overwatch, I don't think I could give him that.
LW Blue, Sabiolbi, Flower, Meko, Janice, Gambler, Agape, and Pavane both coaching that one. 5th through 8th that time. But that's kind of impressive on its own, isn't it? That's pretty insane. Kongbok Spirit, Gamsu. Yeah. I forgot about Gamsu and Kongbok.
Here's another little fun
Twilight
factoid.
As well.
Zunba used to play on Konbox. He got drafted after Apex Season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Was such a standout that Lunatic High, well, the rumor has it that they played at World Cup and they were like, hey, we like this guy, and then brought him over. Fun little stuff. And yes, for the person, I don't remember who asked the question, but yes, Apex Season 4 is fantastic because you get to see GC Busan level up in the playoffs and look like a completely different team. Thus, doubling down on the playoff, rise to the occasion. This is a team that came in to Apex Season 4. Okay, cool. They're a rookie team. They don't look half bad. Don't expect much from them. Become world beaters overnight in playoffs. I don't know what clicked. No idea. I don't know who said what to them. They woke up on the right side of the bed that day. I don't know. That's a brand new team. I don't know where that came from.
I just determined right now, if I had $2 million to spend in prize pool, I would spend $2 million to recreate Apex Season 2.
Yeah.
Look at this. These teams are actually kind of insane. Even Flash Lux. You've got...
Weirdly enough, yeah.
Meta Athena had Saya player, Libero, Hoon, Chris, and Nuss all on the same team.
Yeah.
Not an awful team. Not an awful team. Not the best team, but not terrible.
I would love to see him now.
Yeah.
Here's the Cloud9 roster.
Yeah,
Mendo, Surefour, Gods, Rib, Adam, and Rolf. Oh man, Fnatic, Buds, Half a Cool Matt, Stoop, Vonathil, Custa. Forgot Custa was on Fnatic.
Mm-hmm.
Misfits, Manitin, Tavik, Zebasai, Reinforce, Nevix. Man, how the mighty have fallen. All right, that was a nice trip down memory lane. Yes, Envious was there. Taimu, Harry Hook, Mickey, Coco, Internet Hulk, Chips, and Kai. So, just really interesting rosters, man. I miss tournaments a little bit.
Yeah,
I think I miss.
I agree.
So, wow. All right, I think it's probably time to get out of here. Yeah.
It's about that time, kids.
We went a little long. Thanks for joining us down that trip of memory lane. Talking about some Apex Season 2. As I just list off players on squads, it's oh wow. I want to see that. 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 Yeah. Really good time. Lots of great fun. Thanks everybody for hanging out today, by the way. Hope you had fun. Hope you enjoyed the show. Sometimes we go a little long, give you a little extra. So we're going to do that. Before we do get out of here, though, Joe, we've got a new patron this week.
We do. Chris F. coming in hot with a Patreon subscription. Thank you for supporting the show. It's very appreciated. We wouldn't be able to get to 50 episodes without you guys. So thank you so much for coming in and giving us your ears for a little bit each day.
Yeah, really appreciate it. They actually, Chris reached out to us on Twitter. Congratulations. Thanks for making my commute so much better.
Yeah.
Been a listener since the beginning, and they signed up for the Patreon today. You should do so too. Go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. You got some cool perks there. The Crouchers chat in Discord it's a good one. Got some great peeps in there. So make sure to come check that out. 5-star iTunes reviews, no new ones, but if you're like, f you, I'm not giving you any money, go ahead and leave a 5-star iTunes review. It's a great way to support, and we really do appreciate the 5-star iTunes reviews. Helps us show up higher in the algorithm, let more people know that we're talking about competitive Overwatch and we're not awful. So, individual shout-outs for the week and where people can find you. Yiska, you're up.
Well, I guess I don't really have a platform right now. I'm going to produce probably some video content. I'm not sure if it's going to be a thinking it over or if it's going to be something else. Maybe I get the video editing software out, but you can follow all of that either in Discord or on my Twitter at Yiska.
Great. Joe, what about you, man? What do you got coming up? Where can people find you?
Just kind of hanging out, playing a little bit of classic WoW. You can follow me and all of my shower thoughts at the old Twitter and occasionally the YouTube. That's all going to be at Volamel, Volamel. Got a piece coming down the pipeline on the Overwatch League MVP voting and my thought process on that. So that should be out soon. My playoff preview should be hopefully coming out before the games. And then we'll see. Still working on a big project. We're working on it, but it's all in production. So stay tuned.
Cool. As for me, you can find me everywhere at KickedTripod, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, everything else. Haven't been streaming a whole lot lately. We just announced a new product at my job, and that's been super busy. But I'm kind of back into it. I've kind of got a little bit extra time now again, which is great. So hopefully be streaming a little bit more there, getting more back onto the TFT content. So, just good fun stuff overall. Other than that, make sure to follow us at tactical_crouch on Twitter. We already talked about all the Patreon stuff. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/KickedTripod. And questions, comments about the show, tweet us at tactical_crouch. We do appreciate it.
Please.
We do take those questions. Hope you had fun this episode. We'll be with you next week for episode 51. See you all next time.